Hey guys, how you doing? So, gonna do a quick run around the neighborhood on some of these load boards. Um, I gotta say, for those that are just trying to get into Amazon, you guys really need to know that historically for Amazon, this is the slow season, and it's primarily based on the fact that obviously the holidays just passed. And then let's also consider that Amazon tends to, during the last quarter of the year, they kind of over order. If they sell at a given fulfillment center 1,000 of a given product, they'll order like 1,250 just to make sure they have inventory in case that one item becomes like the hot ticket for this winter. Amazon doesn't want to be known for being out of stock. It's always been the very nature of their business, right? You can find just about anything, you can get it pretty quick. With Amazon Prime, most stuff you can get next day. And so they don't want to be known for not having it. And so I just turned off the refresh. In your last quarter of the year is typically when you're going to make your money with Amazon. And I'm not saying you make your money and then you park your trucks and that's it, but what ends up happening is a whole bunch of people jump into Amazon that had never worked for Amazon before. They get in there, whether it's brokered loads or they just got onto Relay themselves, and everyone goes after it. Maybe they even lease on a couple operators under their authority because they're like, hey, Amazon's great. And then Christmas passes and a given area might have 250 loads on any given day, and all of a sudden it drops to 20. But they're still the same carriers. And so if you're sitting on some money in the bank and you're about to go spend money to buy a truck to come after Amazon, you should know that right now is not the best time. And I'm not saying it to discourage you. I'm saying it so you don't go and empty out your bank account, jump into an expensive insurance policy, and now you're stuck paying for that policy, and your truck's not putting in miles. It's just the nature of it. I myself stopped pulling for Amazon last year, primarily because they came out with those short-term contracts, and they just killed the local spot market. Anyway, hopefully I get some of the places here that I got asked for. I put some of them already into the board, so it'll be in the drop-down. I remember someone asking for Northern California, and honestly, if we make that 100-mile radius, that covers, Sacramento into the Bay Area, Vacaville, Tracy, and I think it even covers Reno. So we should be covering more than just Sacramento here. Anyway, so right now it's in the order of start date first, and so there is some stuff here for Sunday, which means they'll be priced a little better. Remember, with Amazon, the closer the ship date comes, the rate tends to creep up a little bit more. The power only stuff, not so much. The trailer required loads do go up substantially more because those loads are coming from third-party vendors to Amazon. And so that's kind of the other point I'll make. If you want to make a higher rate per mile, you need to bring your own trailer. That's where the better rates are. Anyway, so we're starting off with the little round trip, a tour as Amazon calls it, 330 miles. They're paying $1.79 a mile, and that loads tonight, almost 11 o'clock tonight. And according to them, it's 1 day's worth of work for $592. Not good money, I don't think. Especially considering I think most drivers are probably going to be intoxicated after the Super Bowl. So here's $2.18 a mile. It sounds decent, except for the fact that according to them, it's going to take 9 hours So it's going to take you 9 hours to travel 172 miles, and for 9 hours worth of work, you're going to get 376 on the mileage. There's Vacaville back to Vacaville, so it's another little tour, 148 miles. According to them, it'll take you 5.5 hours to do for $350 a mile. There's another Vacaville back to Vacaville, 312 miles, 165 per mile. 516 is what they're going to pay you. There's a Tracy to Goodyear, Arizona. This is kind of a different one for Amazon. It's a tour, but it doesn't come back to the same place. So you're going to do 4,000 miles in 3 days for $7,600. You know, it sounds like good money for 3 days, but you're going to burn a ton of fuel. And if I'm not mistaken, they're going to send you up into the Northwest. See, that's kind of how they get you. So you start off in Northern California, and then it looks like you jump across maybe into Reno. Then you head out towards Colorado. Then you go to Portland and do another drop up there. Then you come back to Northern California. Then you go to Central California. Then you go out to Phoenix. A whole lot of running, and you have to hope the weather is favorable, or you will fall behind with that one like there's no tomorrow. Used to be, before I got into Amazon, a friend of mine was doing Amazon, and he told me they were doing like $3 a mile with teams, and a truck would go out for 5 days, and it was, you know, a $15,000 to $18,000 a week. You know, that was worth it. Anyway, so we'll move on. There's another team's load, you know, another 5,000 mile trip for 8,800 miles, $1.78 a mile. There's another team load for $1.64 a mile. There's $1.59 a mile, so it's getting worse. There's a Vacaville back to Vacaville, 11 hours for $4.92. There's another little tour. Looks like it's going to take you a whole day and 216 miles, and you'll get $4.34. To give you guys an idea, on average, well, my goal is to make $1,000 a day per truck. Right now, with the weather and you know, lanes are shifting because people don't want to go north, but my dispatch company gets me $1,200 to $1,300 on 1 day loads, and that's kind of a norm. We do have those occasional, hey, this one picks up on Friday, delivers Saturday, and it's $2,500. That kind of stuff is out there. Right now, it's a little bit tougher, and it's tough all over. That's kind of why I'm saying if you're looking at starting, be ready for that. The rates aren't as they're not as fruitful as they once were. So here's another round trip for. I'm going to start kind of skimming through the round trip because you guys get the idea. It's going to be 4 to 5 or even 6,000 miles at a very low rate. You're going to burn a ton of fuel, and it's not a great deal. So I'm going to kind of just skim through them and maybe just say what their mileage or price per mile. So the top one is $149 a mile. There's $161 a mile. There's $150 a mile. This one's not a team load. So this one goes from Newark to Phoenix. 728 miles at $1.75. That's really cheap, and I believe this would kill your performance score, because if you look at the time here at the top where it says 17H, They're expecting you to make that load in 17 hours. The problem is you're going to have to stop for a 10-hour break, so that's only going to leave you technically 7 hours to drive, and they want you to drive 728 miles in that time. We fell into that trap taking a load from Sacramento to Phoenix, and yes, they will hit your performance, even if you call. And so there's another team load for $175. There's another one for $159. A lot of team loads out of the area. Not hardly worth it in my opinion. There's $141 a mile for team, $169. A whole lot of teams. And so there's a non-team, but it's $133 a mile going to Vegas. That's really cheap, and Vegas is hard to get out of. So there's another team, more team, a lot of team in Northern California right now. Anyway, and so these loads are pushing off into Tuesday, so don't expect to see like a great paying load. They're only going to get cheaper. Let's move on to another market. Oops. I think someone had requested New York and New Jersey area. I'm sorry if I don't remember the name of who requested it. I just briefly went down through the notifications, and you know, on my drop-down menu, I kind of created the short list of what markets to cover. So there are quite a few loads here. I'll give it that. That's a lot of loads. Let me break this down a little different just so we get through it a little quicker. I know I got a lot of box truck people interested. So let's look at just box trucks, see what's in that market. And they don't show any. Oh, that's because they don't provide a box truck. So there's a lot of box truck activity there. If that's what you guys are interested in, there's a lot of them. Right now the rates are going to be high for two reasons. One, it's Super Bowl Sunday, so some people are probably taking the day off that normally work. Two, the weather's really bad, and some people may just be parked for the next few days until this next storm moves through. But we'll go through it real quick. Anvil, Jersey, heading out to New York. That's $617 at almost $3 a mile. That's not too shabby. It's a whole day's work. There's another one, $305 a mile. So Anvil must be like where they're distributing from, because obviously a lot of them are shipping from there. But there's a $275 a mile. This is also a Monday load. There's one leaving Trenton, New Jersey, heading out to Pennsylvania for $3 a mile. There's another one heading out to Pennsylvania for $331 a mile for 143 miles. That's not bad money. I mean, according to the schedule, it's going to take you all day to do it. On a per mile basis, it's not bad. On a per hour, I don't think that's great, but I've never run these box trucks, guys, and so the other day I came to the idea or had the question, you know, with some of these box truck loads, can you combine loads? Can you, if you got a load leaving the same facility and it's two deliveries going to the same street, the same city, and each one is a pallet or two pallets, can you take two? I mean, that would kind of make it worthwhile, right? Anyway, so there's another Anvil leaving to Woodsboro, you know, $385 a mile. There's another Trenton for $237. There's another one for $449. You know, that's a really good price for a very short haul. And at 6 hours worth of work, you know, the upside with box trucks is they're really cheap to buy. And so maybe you don't have as much into it that way. And if you're a one truck, one man operation, you know, if you can get yourself a $600 load every day, That may not be bad, but of course, I'm just thinking aloud. If you're in the New York area, I don't imagine you can just find parking for your truck somewhere. You're probably paying someone a premium to park that. Anyway, let me try and keep going because the video is going to get long if I don't. So there's another one leaving Trenton for $3.05 a mile. There's a $3.23 a mile. There's a $3.40 a mile. $3.24. $3.05. So Trenton obviously is a bigger distribution hub. I'm not familiar with it, but now I have the curiosity. Yeah, no, it's a full-blown facility, and it's freeway close, and it's not like deep in the heart of the city either. So I guess if you're in that area, that's not a bad place to work. And if you're not heading up to New York, you know, you could head out towards Philadelphia and be there pretty quick. I was actually not too far from there a while ago and hauled a load from a recycling center over there. Anyways, let me try and get back to it and get back on point. So there's a load. Oh, wait. Oh, this is a multiple stop I'm looking at. Okay, I get it. This has multiple stops. I wasn't really paying attention to that. This has 5 stops in it. So for that money, let's look at this. See, this is where they're running you. So it's not like you're doing a straight shot somewhere. I guess the upside is when you're finished, you know, you're not 500 miles away from where you started. You're a little closer, so your deadhead miles returning aren't as bad. But I imagine with as much as they're loading you up, you're not going to be able to combine loads, and they're going to have you on a schedule. All right, so let's go back to New York and try to look at the 53-foot trailers. We'll combine the power only with the trailer provided. I'm sorry, with the trailer required. So Teterboro, heading out to Jersey, there's $9 a mile. For 90 miles, you get $800. It's an 8-hour day. You know, that doesn't hit my mark of 1,000 a day, but for 8 hours, you get $822. So it's like you're making $100 an hour, and you're only going 90 miles, so you're not going to burn a whole ton of fuel. I could see that load. The drawback is, you know, you're up there in that Jersey area, and again, I'm not too familiar. Where do you park your truck? Is that expensive? You know, I live in Southern California. I'm kind of in a rural town. There's a little place where I park my truck when I show up, and I know the people at a local GM dealership. They've told me I can park in their alleyway behind their place. They don't really care. And so I have a place to park my truck without paying for parking. Anyway, so Staten Island heading out to Pennsylvania, 4.25 a mile. There's one going from New York at $7.44 a mile. And again, you know, these are all loads for today, and they're probably being adversely affected by the weather and the game. So don't consider these being like an everyday thing. I don't think this is typical of everyday pricing. And so there's a round trip coming out of Pennsylvania back to Pennsylvania. For under 300 miles, you're getting $900. It's an 8-hour day. You know, that's not too shabby. That's workable. But of course, you gotta put down them wings and not watch the Super Bowl. And so there's Stratford, Connecticut, round trip, 64 miles. They say it'll take you 4 hours, and it's $325. There's Jersey, another Anvil. Back out to Delaware, $4.58 a mile. They're saying 4 hours you'll get $589. You know, that's not bad. This looks like it's a duplicate of that one. There's a $4.63 a mile. You get $480 for 100 miles. You do it in 4 hours. You know, at these rates, these aren't bad, but I don't believe these to hold true. These won't be this way in another few days, is what I'm trying to say. And so there's North Haven. It's a round trip, out and back, 220 miles for $926. You know, that's decent money right there. If you can really go and come back in 6 hours and you get $926, I jump on that. I don't think the weather's going to allow, but so there's Woodside, New York, heading out to Pennsylvania, 94 miles for $700. There's North Haven, Connecticut, a round trip, out and back, 345 miles for $1,500. Hard to beat that, but again, you know, weather. And all of these are for Sunday. All of these have to be done today. So there's 119 miles for $500 at $4.25 a mile from Staten Island out to Hamburg, Pennsylvania. And there's another duplicate of that load. There's another load from Woodside, New York out to Pennsylvania at $7.50 a mile. Again, that's hard to argue with. But, you know, what's your guys' weather like? There's 104 miles for $474. There's Teterboro heading out to Pennsylvania, $455 a mile. That's not too bad. There's another Staten Island heading out to Pennsylvania. Another Teterboro to Pennsylvania, $455 a mile. That seems to be the going rate, the $455 a mile. There's a 369 heading from New York to Sparrows Point, 263 miles for $970. You know, from a fuel consumption and wear and tear standpoint, that all sounds great. I imagine if these rates were like this every day, there'd be a lot of people signing up. Anyway, so here's 104 miles for $474. There's $630 a mile. So you get almost $900 for 141 miles. There's a Bronx heading out to Massachusetts. I don't imagine that's a good drive right now, but they're saying in 10 hours you'll make $994. Anyway, so that's kind of what the market in New York looks like, guys. Let's look at the next one. Oops, not there. I had picked that one by mistake. Someone asked me about Florida. And so what I'm going to do, since it's Miami, I'm going to open that up to 200 miles, and that way it'll cover the majority of the state, if not all of it. And let me make sure I remove all the filters. Miami is a really weird market in that there's a lot of trucking companies down there, and I think they're pretty well saturated. So there's a load from Lakeland, Florida. I believe Lakeland's like halfway up the state, heading out to CLT2, my all-time favorite place. They lost one of my trailers once. They gave it to someone else and sent it all over the country. Anyway, $1.94 a mile. I'm not even going to pretend I can pronounce that. Opelika, Florida. That one's a round trip. Teams. It's almost 6,000 miles at $1.41 a mile. I'd pass. They're probably going to take you all the way across the country on that one too. Let's just look at it for fun. I clicked on the wrong one, guys. Sorry. Oh, it's really not that bad. They're just sending you everywhere no one wants to go for the weather. I thought you were going to end up like in Phoenix and LA and Sacramento and then back. But it's still a ton of miles. I'm not a fan of their team's load, just for the reason that they run you really hard for very low money. And so here's a little one-day run, 684. There's another teams for $1.49. Let's kind of skip through the teams because they're all going to be about that cheap. And I'm assuming the person that requested didn't want teams. Maybe I shouldn't be so presumptuous, right? But I mean, it's not hard to draw a conclusion. They're paying between $1.49 and $1.59 per mile. There's actually $1.34 a mile. And so if you can make money with that, send me over your recipe because I can't. All right, so there's a load that's not a team that's going up to Jersey for $1.34. You know, no one wants to go there because of the weather, and from Florida they're paying $1.34 because $1.54, mainly because no one wants to leave, or nothing pays well enough out of there. So let me see if I can still show you guys something without spending the rest of the day looking at teams. So if we eliminate the teams, there's only 3 loads that are not team related. The top one's going to Charlotte. I think we talked about that one at $194. This one's a round trip. And then the last one it's a one-way also going, it's the one going to Jersey we already talked about. And so that's kind of what's there. Let's see if we can't look at Jacksonville. And so Jacksonville has 9 results. There's a Daytona Beach heading out to Tennessee for $167 a mile. There's one going into Georgia for $320 a mile. That's kind of surprising, but it's a 26-foot box truck. And then these are blocks. So if you're not aware of what blocks are, the very top one says 1 day and 13 hours. So what that is they work you 12 hours, then you take a 10-hour break wherever you run out of hours, and then they work you another 12 or 13 hours. And so you end up being, you know, a full shift, 10 hours off, and then another full shift. And if we try to click on this, it's not going to show you anything. If you book this, they will send you 12 hours before what your itinerary is. And so with these, you just got to expect you're going to work a whole day, you're going to get a 12-hour break, a 10-hour break, and then you're going to work a whole day. So for your 2 days worth of work, you'll get 12, 11. So it's like $605 per day plus your accessorials. And so that's what both of those are at the very top. If you weren't aware of what the blocks are, that's kind of what they are. Amazon does this to keep their spot market rate down. They get you to commit to these things, so you're promised 2 days worth of work, but they keep those loads from hitting the load board where they have a possibility of peaking in rate. And so here we have a round trip. Oh, it's another block. Oh, they're all blocks. So that's all there is in Jacksonville, blocks. So if they're convincing you guys to take these blocks, You know, you kind of now know what they are. They're pretty cheap. If they pay better, I'd be a fan of them because you know what you're going to get. You know you're going to have work. And if they don't use you, you still get paid. But I can't afford $600 a day. That's just my philosophy on it. To each their own. That's everything I have in my drop down. But I want to say somebody else had asked me for something. And now I feel kind of bad because I don't remember what it was. Anyway, if you watch this video and I did not hit your city, your area, oh, I'm remembering. Someone had asked me, this one was a while ago, and he made a reference to a taco place, and so I was able to relate. I think he was talking about Laredo. And yeah, I apologize because that one was a while ago, and I've been a little bit tied up with other stuff. And so Laredo seems to be dry at the moment, which is kind of odd because for Mondays they're usually busy. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing something, and I don't think I am. And so Laredo is dry. I think someone had asked me about San Antonio also. So there's 13 results in San Antonio. Round trip out of Schertz, Texas, back out to Schertz, Texas, 4,300 miles in 4 days. You make $7,600. At least the rate's a little bit better than what it was paying out of Florida. There's a San Marcos heading out to New Orleans. That's a power-only load at $1.44 a mile. I can tell you New Orleans is bad for freight. Anything in that area is just bad for freight. New Orleans really just doesn't have anything shipping out of there. There's a few of them heading there, so you're going to have competition to get back out. Here's a load from Cale, Texas to Eastland. It's a box truck for $1.59. There's a San Antonio to Three Rivers, another box truck for $3.22. There's another box truck load for $1.42. Tolar, Texas. Am I pronouncing that right? Looks like they got some box truck activity. And so for you box truck guys, you know, that's kind of a market there for you, I suppose. So here's a San Marcos to Phoenix, but pay attention to the date. This isn't until the 13th, and so the market is pretty dry because this one ships on the 9th. That one's the 9th, and so it's not like we were looking at, you know, the New Jersey market or the New York market where the majority of the loads we saw were for today and they need them right away. You know, that's a Monday load, but it's the last of the Monday loads. These all start Tuesday, and so the San Antonio market is pretty dry, guys. Anyway, sorry at the moment, that's kind of all I can remember, the different markets you guys wanted me to look at. I'm going to wrap this up and get ready for some football. By the time this loads up, it'll probably be football time because I'm using the phone, and my truck stop that I'm at now is out in the middle of nowhere. And so what little signal there is here, I'm sure everybody else is fighting for bandwidth. Anyways, as always, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate the new subscribers. Thank you very much. Enjoy the football.